got deep, salty flavour from the fermented black beans, and it just sort of weaves itself into the spicy hit of this vegan Mapo Tofu. It's Wok Wednesday. Let's do a Wok Wednesday dance because this week we are doing vegan Mapo Tofu. Usually this dish is done with minced pork. I'm swapping out the minced pork for some nice finely chopped shiitake mushrooms. And the sauce or the flavour for me actually all starts from tiny salted black beans, or actually soya beans that have been salted and preserved. They're not the black bean that you get in Mexican cooking. But you want to steam those for about 4 or 5 minutes just to open up the flavour. Now to go with those black beans, ginger and garlic, both of which finely chopped. Got some spring onions. I'm going to use quite a lot of spring onion for this. So I'm going to use some for garnish, just finely sliced into rings. And then the rest, chop up roughly and put into the start of the stir fry. So I'm setting up my kind of mini wok clock of ingredients here. The only other thing I need to chop up is these shiitake mushrooms. Nice and finely diced. And steaming away for about 5 minutes. And I just need a light press in with that ginger and garlic. And you notice if you do steam them, that it's easier to sort of press into them and get more flavour out of them. If you're across the pond and you want to cook stir fries like a professional, don't worry, we've got you covered. Click the link in the top right and it will take you to buy your own School of Wok Wok in the US Amazon store. Now available. Now, the tofu. You get so many different types of tofu, but for Mapo Tofu, you want the type of tofu like this silken tofu that's just going to melt in your mouth. I've cut that in half. I'm going for cubes or rough cubes. That was terrible cubing. My son would be appalled. And that silken tofu will go into the stir-fry sauce just before you're ready to serve. So with the Sichuan peppercorns, I'm going to toast them in the wok on a medium to low heat, and they'll start to smoke a little. Just swirl them around, and that'll bring out or temper the spices and bring out the oils. Then give them a good crush. And this mix here, I've got some chili flakes that are going in with those toasted Sichuan peppercorns. Is what gives this the sort of classic Sichuanese mala flavour. It's sort of numbingly spicy flavour. The sauce, I'm starting with a bit of Shaoxing rice wine. I've got here chow chili oil or chili flakes in oil, and then doubanjiang or chili bean paste. A little bit of light soy sauce for salty flavour. And then over here, I've actually used the water that those mushrooms have been soaking in to sort of create the liquid. Like with most stir fries, I'm going to start with a relatively high heat. And you want a good amount of oil in your wok, especially if you're using these shiitake, because I want to make sure that the mushrooms sort of almost start to crisp up before I continue with the rest of the stir fry. Spring onion at 12 o'clock on my wok clock, the thicker bits of spring onion, and that will really flavour the oil quite quickly. And my shiitake mushrooms are going to go in next. Press those in and get that oil almost soaked around all those mushrooms, because as I say, I'm going to cook this for a good amount of time to allow them to start to dry a little and crisp around the edges. This process here actually takes quite a few minutes. We're talking sort of 4 or 5 minutes of stir frying and constantly moving those mushrooms around. At this point, that is when you want to sort of make a little hole in the middle of your wok, ready for your next ingredient. My next ingredient is my paste, my rough paste of garlic, ginger, and black bean. I've turned the wok down to a low heat, but what I'm trying to do here is just make sure that that garlic doesn't sort of burn too quickly, and I want to get as much flavour out of this paste as possible. Once it's in, whack the heat up to a medium heat, and then we'll start to incorporate the rest of the ingredients once we start to fry off that paste a little first. Now I'm going back up to high heat, and I can really smell that lovely garlic and ginger cooking through nicely. So I'm going to start to mix that in so that it doesn't burn. My mala, my chili, and my Sichuan peppercorns are going in, and a quick stir fry through with that because you don't want it to burn. I'm just lifting that off the heat whilst I pick up my chili sauce and then fry that through too. Now we're starting to look like a real true base of Mapo Tofu. Smoking hot wok, and we're sort of getting back to the more traditional way of stir frying now. Get that mushroom stock or vegetable stock into there. So once your sauce is vigorously boiling, and it should be quite brothy, it should have enough liquid to be able to hold all of that tofu. Once it's vigorously boiling, then we're going to thicken it slightly with some corn flour paste. This is basically sort of 2-to-1 water to corn flour mixed together. You're probably looking at maybe 6 to 8 teaspoons of corn flour paste. And again, you'll know if you've watched a few of the other videos that I'm not the biggest fan of like really thick Chinese sauces, but for things like this it does work, and you're trying to just get that nice sort of silky finish on the sauce. I'd rather add that corn flour in now before the tofu goes in, because all I'm really doing is getting the tofu in to kind of warm through, and I don't want to move it around too much once it's in. If you are going to move it at all, always use a spatula and go from underneath and just give it a little sort of shimmy. Let that bubble away for a couple of minutes, and then you can serve it up. Perfect with a bowl of rice on the side. Garnish up a little bit of spring onion. Oh, got a good kick of that chili and the Sichuan peppercorn, but it's really well balanced. True flavors that you'd expect from Sichuan, but not missing the meat. If there's any recipes that you guys cook that usually have meat in them, but you've done a vegan or vegetarian version, let us know in the comments below. My vegan Mapo Tofu.